sponsored by Squarespace. After the success of Ong Bak and Tong Yam-gong, director Pragya Pinka had a fallen out with his star Tony Jaa. The two would part ways creatively. Tony Jaa moved on to direct Ong Bak 2, while Pinka began to search for his next big star, and he had just the right person in mind. Currently holding a 4th dan black belt in Taekwondo, Chicha Yanin was the next Tony Jaa. Discovered by Pinka in an audition in 2003, at age 20, she began her stunt training under Pana Litiklai, the very same mentor who trained it, Tony Jaa. After 5 years of prep, she would star in a movie written specifically with her in mind, Chocolate. Chicha plays Zen, the autistic daughter of a former mobster mistress. In an effort to care for her daughter, Zen's mother puts her life of crime behind her, and life has not been easy since. Zen isn't unaware of her mother's kindness, of course. She can't express it effectively, but there is no doubt she also cares deeply. So when her mother falls ill with cancer and needs money for treatment, Zen goes on a rampage to collect debts owed to her mother. The rest is non-stop action. It sounds like a movie with a decent plot, interesting characters, and high-quality actions. That begs the question, why didn't Chicha become the next Tony Jaa? And why haven't most of you seen this movie? That's what we're going to find out today. Let's take a look at the film from 3 perspectives: as action fans, as women, and as neurodiverse individuals. Let me explain to you why Chocolate is ahead of its time and why it deserves your attention now. Let's start with the action. The movie spends the first 30 minutes establishing Zen's character. It's very detailed, everything from her uncanny concentration to her habit of collecting glass beads. We see her obsession with martial arts since childhood and just her overall mannerism. As a result, we get to know Zen way better than we did with Ting from Ong Bak, or most other martial arts characters for that matter. This distinction is important as all of her actions are informed by her character. Chicha's capability needs no introduction. However, as the next Tony Jaa, she doesn't seem to be on the same level, right? I was expecting more. With Pinka and Litiklai on the creative team and references to Tony Jaa, the expectation was set. In China, the film was even advertised as a direct successor to Ong Bak. This Yahoo publicity piece straight up calls Chicha the female version of Tony Jaa. As a result, a lot of people, including myself, went into this film expecting the same insane action and came out disappointed. It was only with time that I realized how reductive that expectation was. First of all, rarely is anyone as fierce as Tony Jaa. But also, this comparison directly overlooks Chicha's strength, that is, her ability to act. Take a look at her fighting stance. It looks slightly awkward, doesn't it? In between attacks, she drops her arms and stand there in a very specific way. Chicha doesn't actually do that in other movies. It's a posture unique to the character of Zen. Why? Because Zen didn't actually learn any martial arts properly. She merely copied her moves from a Muay Thai school and eventually from movies. Her first major fight happens in an ice factory, so she fights like Bruce Lee, copied directly from the Big Boss. Her second major fight happens in a warehouse, a location commonly seen in Jackie Chan movies. So Zen does a lot more acrobatics, even copying a gag from Rumble in the Bronx. There's a personal touch to every movement, somewhat playful, somewhat comical, always in service of the story and character. Can you imagine Tony Jaa fighting while acting as an autistic young man? I don't think it will end well. For this reason, I think this is a unique gem of a martial arts movie. One where you don't just see a star in action, but also see the character expresses herself through fights. I can really only think of one other example off the top of my head, and that movie was a real special gem too. If you are a martial arts movie fan, give this movie a shot and let Ji Cha impresses you in her own unique way. While we are on the topic of hidden gems, why don't you also share your niche interests with us? It's easy to do, just make a website with Squarespace. In researching reviews for this film, I came across a lot of personal websites and blogs, one of which was written by a parent of an autistic child. It is so refreshing to read someone's thoughts and stories, to feel that personal touch in the page layout, free of the dramas found in social media. If you want to do the same, just go onto Squarespace, pick a template, and start writing. Everything you uploaded belongs to you. You don't have to worry about waking up one day and find out the whole website changed its name to X. Start a free trial at squarespace.com/accentthecinema. Use the code accentthecinema and you can get 10% off your first purchase. Write what you want to write. Express yourself in your own way. Start using Squarespace today. Action movies rarely appeal to a female audience. That sounds vaguely sexist, but the opposite is also true. From its premise to the imagery, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, a movie about gold digging, aims to entice a female audience, even if aspects of it remain enjoyable regardless of gender. Our cultural conventions shape our gender experiences, which in turn shaped our gender expressions, creating even more movies that reinforce the conventions. This is why we have concepts like male gaze and female gaze, two descriptors about how a piece of artwork is expressed in terms of gender perception. Yes, it assumes a heteronormative gender binary bias, because that's the kind of bias our society currently has. Anyway, a quick example would be Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey. The character Harley Quinn is in both movies. Due to, in no small part, the gender influence of the directors, Harley is presented very differently. This is the average male idea of playful and sexy, while this is the average female idea of the same thing. That's not to say that we are perpetually trapped in our gender boxes. Silence of the Lambs is an excellent example of female gaze storytelling from a male director. By having these POV shots, we experience the pressure of working in a male-dominated field from Starling's female perspective. Okay, so why am I saying all of that? Because Chocolate is one of the rare action films that appealed to my female friends and viewers, outside of the other example. It all comes down to how Zen is written. Zen avoids the obvious pitfalls. She's not sexualized, objectified, or infantilized. And she's not defined by her relationship with a man. The movie doesn't voyeuristically present her in the third person, and that's not just because she's the protagonist. Elektra is an example of a female lead action movie presented nearly exclusively through a male gaze. See how the camera is essentially spying on her body. The camera in Chocolate is more interested in Zen's personality, emotions, and thoughts. It's humanizing. This is just anecdotal, but my friend also says there's something about Ji Cha's baby face, and the way Zen is dressed, it feels more approachable. Ji Cha isn't a masculine ideal of a woman like Michelle Rodriguez, whose strength often comes from joining the boys' club. My friend can see herself in Ji Cha, in the same way she can imagine herself as a Sukeban or as Sailor Moon. In other words, Chocolate is rather ahead of its time. Action films through a female gaze only became trendy relatively recently. Yet here is a movie from 2008 doing so much of it so well. If you are a woman who loves action movie, Chocolate might just be the right thing for you. Lastly, let's talk about Zen as an autistic character. Now, I'm not neurodiverse. Okay, I guess I'm not a woman either, but at least I studied feminist theories at university. What I'm saying is, I'm wholly unqualified to talk about this. So everything in this chapter is just my understanding through rudimentary research. I'll admit, this autism savant trope irks me the wrong way at first. Since the days of Rain Man, autistic characters are frequently portrayed as some kind of genius, or even, quote, the next step in human evolution. Sure, it is common for autistic individuals to hyper-focus on their special interests. Autistic people may appear to be gifted, but that's only a result of constant passion-driven practices. Chocolate did show Zen practicing her kicks for like 30 seconds. It's not enough to combat this trope. Luckily, that was the only objection I found. Even with such a trope in mind, Chocolate gets a lot of details right. One particularly impressive detail is stimming, a type of repetitive action we do to calm ourselves. Like spinning our pants, we all do it, but it's more apparent in autistic individuals. Zen in particular rocks back and forth, a common behavior as pointed out by this review. Other details include her sensory sensitivity, that she's nonverbal, and the multiple ways her OCD tendency manifests. But the most admirable thing, I think, is that her autism isn't a gimmick. It is not used to show eccentricity, nor is it an obstacle to overcome, since neurodiversity isn't taken as a negative. It's so frequent to see autistic characters being depicted as assholes, incapable of empathy, but Zen is perceptive and she's caring. The whole reason she goes on a rampage is because she cares about her mother. She has strengths and weaknesses, her quirks and interests, much like everyone else. Oh, and she has a friend. Autistic people can hold relationships too. All of these details help destigmatize autism. As far as I know, autistic people really enjoy seeing her as a superhero and find it empowering. That's not to say Chocolate doesn't have its flaws. Some of the timings in fights can get sloppy, likely due to the sheer amount of action they had to film. This is also the second time Pink Hell used trans women as villains. I'm not sure if that's a Thailand cliche, but come up with something new, man. The movie also gets unjustifiably gruesome at one point, like, I can even describe it on YouTube kinda brutal, so fair warning. Finally, it's probably just me, but I find the unrealistic sound effect to be distracting. Probably just me though. After Chocolate, Chicha would star in more action flicks, working with Tony Jaa on multiple occasions. Unlike Tony, Chicha Yanin never achieved the international fame she deserves. But then again, she's still in her 30s, so there are plenty of times to shine. Maybe, just like Chocolate, she's ahead of her time, and she's just waiting for the world to catch up. As for me, I will always remember her as one of the few actors who can fight and act at the same time, in a movie that teaches an important lesson. That women and neurodiverse people are just as capable as men at solving problems by kicking it real hard.